It's really common for a lot of Latinos to reject their Black identity or indigenous identity and really align themselves with being European or being Spaniard. Or a lot of Latinos growing up are being told to look at conquistadors and colonizers as these heroes, these people who, I don't know, modernized the world.
Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In case you're new here, my name is Maren.
And I'm Maureen.
Right, so in today's episode, we're going to be featuring a Latin speaker who is going to be giving an explosive revelation on why the Latin community treats Black people the way they do.
Right, and she's also going to be explaining why some of their weird behavior stems from the fact that they really want to be badly associated to white community, hence white adjacency, right? And hence this makes them cause unimaginable harm to Black communities because of this behavior.
Right, guys, let's watch what we prepared for you and then we come back and talk about it. Let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. Also consider subscribing if it's your first time here. Let's watch and then we come back.
It's really common for a lot of Latinos to reject their Black identity or indigenous identity and really align themselves with being European or being Spaniard. Or a lot of Latinos growing up are being told to look at conquistadors and colonizers as these heroes, these people who, I don't know, modernized the world. And this is a coping mechanisms that a lot of Latinos were taught from the colonizers. Anti-Blackness and colorism stem from the way that Latin America was colonized. That history of being colonized by Spain essentially taught us to despise darker brown skin, including our own. Here's the thing. Every single country has a different story or a different way they coped with the way their country was colonized. General theme, though, within these countries and how they were colonized is that they all attempted to blur the lines of race. Because there were so many people mixing, they allowed there to be some sort of fluidity between race. And this was an attempt to erase Blackness within Latin America. They wanted to focus on indigenous and Spaniard mixture. That's why when you're in Latin America, it's very easy for anyone to blend in with the country because there are so many types of Latinos. But when you're an Afro-Latino living in America, things are a little different. Afro-Latinos are at the intersectionality of race and ethnicity. Racially, the US has a binary of you're either white or you're Black. So Afro-Latinas have to walk around the US as a Black person. Their Latinidad is absolutely ignored or erased. In Latin America, there is a lot of fluidity when it comes to race because we don't acknowledge Black people, which sucks. But in the context of the United States, people are put in a box. You're either white or you're Black. And the media does a terrible job at portraying Black people on the media, in the media. A lot of Latinos will call Black Americans the true Black people in order to deny their Blackness and kind of be othered. So they're not Black, they're not white, they're Latino, they're Hispanic. Which I can say I have had trouble with that in the past. And because some of us are othered, that means that they can hide behind whiteness if they wanted to. Because white people see Afro-Latinos as just Black, they tend to grow a resentment for Black Americans because of the way white people choose to portray them. That resent that some Afro-Latinos might feel is like the precursor to anti-Blackness, which can turn violent like in a matter of seconds. It's the same type of rage that Border Patrol agents, employees that are Latino have. And the crazy thing is, these people, when you ask them what they are, they identify more with their Spaniard or their American identities. They don't really care to associate with their indigenous or African background descent. And that's known as the Latin American racial dance, which means we can use our mixed races and ethnicities to disguise our ethnicity, to disguise who we are, our identity. That was chapters 2 and 3 of this book, Defectors, and also the end of part 1. I will be going over part 2, chapters, 4 through 6, without you guys knowing, so stay tuned. Xenophobia runs so rampant in our country and is so ingrained in what it means to be an American that it actually overpowers anti-Blackness. In 2021, Cambridge University did a study, and this is pretty recent, that white people, the more immigrants that come into the country, their hostility towards Black people decreases, their hatred towards Latinos or immigrants increases. In the study, they specifically looked into how white people treated Black and brown people from 1970 to 2010. When white people look at Latino immigrants, they don't necessarily think of people who are fleeing their country, looking for asylum, etc. Instead, they see foreigners that are attacking their sense of identity and belonging. We are perpetually the foreigner. White Americans really don't have a culture or some sort of group that they belong to besides being a white American and other white Americans. And because they hold on so much to that sense of identity, immigrants tend to threaten that identity. An emotion that is so human, so core to what it means to be a human, is a sense of belonging. Most Americans will say that the reason they don't like immigrants is because they're stealing our jobs, they're not paying taxes. According to a study, people were more upset at the fact that they weren't assimilating to American culture, which is why when someone is more assimilated into American white culture, they feel less threatened. And that's where the replacement theory comes in, which is a racist theory that believes that there's an active, coordinated effort to bring more immigrants to the United States. So they believe that there is not just a border crisis, but it's like an extensionalism crisis. And all that is so scary to a child of immigrant, to an immigrant. So they tend to internalize all of that, and it kind of pushes them to want to assimilate more. And by assimilating more, they do the thing that is the most American possible, pointing their finger at the immigrant and blaming them. Native-born American Latinos and immigrant Latinos are not immune to that, wanting to feel like they belong. And that's where nativism comes in, which is a belief from native-born people that newcomers are basically misrepresenting whatever that country's culture is and how that country is perceived. The more a Latino assimilates to American culture, the more they're likely to become someone who believes in nativism. We are constantly facing hate, which is what drives Latinos to become more nationalistic, more nativistic, and pointing fingers to immigrants is something that literally is just what Americans do. And becoming like the oppressor is something that they're willing to do if it means that they can fit in, especially since the enemy of Americans causes that Latino, that immigrant, for others to question their belonging. That was chapter 1 of Defectors. I will be breaking the book down without you guys even knowing. So I have been trying to break down this book, Defectors, because it talks about the rise of alt-right Latinos, and I have only gotten through part 1. I should have known, like, I don't know why I was so naive. I should have known that a few people would get very triggered by this topic, because starting off with chapter 1, like, it says that people who are Latino who, you know, become part alt-right is usually because they have this desperate need to belong to a group, and the group they chose was white people. And then I brought up the fluidity of race within Latin America, but how in the US it's very binary. I talked about how our religion literally makes us vulnerable to indoctrination, as well as the years and generation of trauma. There's people in my comments pissed so much off. Part 1, guys. It's only part 1. And part 1 was just about tribalism. Part 2 is about to be traditionalism. I don't know how people are going to react to these topics. And here I've covered these chapters. I'm going to do, you know, Army of God 2, mourning, trauma, wounds. Like, these are going to be pretty heavy. And the way I'm formatting my videos is to like talk about the topic and then at the end be like, I got everything from this book and we're breaking it apart, just so people can like process the content. This is going to be a lot harder than I thought it was. Am I going to stop? No.
So guys, welcome back. Let us know what you think about the episode we just played in the comment section, right? You know, I feel like the statement that this lady said that really stuck with me, you know, when she said that one thing that white Americans really hate the most, other than black Americans, is when immigrants start coming in, especially the Latin immigrants, because they threaten the American culture and sense of belonging they have, you know.
Right, and this is because according to how she's explained it, white America sees Latinos as trying to be like them. And this, I think, it's because of that white adjacency and them trying to fit in, because, you know, when you say they literally have to become like the oppressors in order for them to fit in. That is like making an excuse for a bully. You have to bully this person in order for you to fit into a classroom.
Yeah, and guys, you know, it's quite sad because even when you like, what proves this point is the first thing Donald Trump did when he got into office, you know.
And it wasn't even before he even got into office. He literally called Puerto Rico an island of garbage, floating garbage. Yet, is this like that syndrome where they usually say, Stockholm syndrome,
where
you go back, you love your abuser and go back to your abuser every time, because anyway, I can never understand that psychology. And let me not even try to not pretend I understand it, but I can try to maybe examine it, because these people tell me why you are called an island of floating garbage, yet you still voted for this man and you defended him like your life literally depended on it. Even after the fact, he had told every single Latinos, when I get into office, most of you will be going home.
Yeah, and guys, I don't know how many of you saw the trending video on TikTok of these, I don't know if they were Mexican, I know they were from the Latin community. Those college boys who are legal in America, they literally formed a club in order to tell on or to report the illegal immigrant kids who are going to the same college with them. And they're very big campaigning, if you're illegal, you have to go back to your country.
Although
And
I kind of understand why they might have been doing that. Maybe
to
it
their
was
own people.
Maybe it was because of fear of them being included with the immigrants, so that they can both all be packed. They were afraid of being packed up and taken home, all of them. So they'd rather cut off the limb before the whole body arm rots.
That even doesn't sound right.
Man eat man society.
It doesn't sound right. I feel like there was a creator on TikTok who was talking about trying to bash the black community and talking about how in the Latin community they have unity, and he was comparing it to the black community, unlike the black community. And I remember that really caused a lot of controversy because the black community
where
came
was
out
even the
receipts.
black community coming in,
Because
when
they
it comes
refused to
speak
join
up for
with
them when they were
exactly.
being deported and harassed.
Yeah, so that was him just venting and letting it out until black creators came with receipts.
Even
and
his
told
own
them,
Latino people came out with receipts.
Yeah, and told him there was never a day that the Latin community has been this united. So people from his own community corrected him and told him there's never been a day that the Latin community has ever been that close, and he compared it to the black community. Why am I bringing him up? Because you can clearly see the division in the Latin community, and I feel like that is because of the colonized mindset they have, so much so that they divide themselves into classes. You know, like there's that thing they commonly say, "Mihara la raza," something like that. Something like that, make the whatever great gene great again, you know. And they work towards eradicating black and brown in their own community. Afro-Latinos in their own community are never acknowledged, you know. So you can imagine if they treat, even leave alone the Afro-Latinos in their community, just the brown-skinned Latinos, how they're treated in their own community versus how the lighter ones who are European-looking, how they are treated, you know. Look at how they divide each other. And then tell me how you'd expect these very same people with that self-hate, how you'd expect them to treat the black community better, you know.
Right. And you know, you can't start healing someone who is not ready for the treatment
who
themselves.
Does not even recognize
they have an illness. And you know the situation where you've said after the elections, a Latino came here to rant that black people weren't helping them, this, that, and the other. Yet they're the ones who put themselves in that situation by aligning themselves with their white counterparts. And now their white counterparts were victimizing them. Then they're coming to run back and blame black people. So that is what I was saying, that they always find any opportunity, if they can, to try and paint black people as bad people, or just do injustices to black people so that they can be white adjacent and feel better about themselves, instead of looking at the real issue and where the issue is coming from. And that is why I really big up this Latino woman for acknowledging that there is a problem there, and Latino community needs to start looking within their own scope.
Yeah, it's just the same thing as I can say, how you cannot expect you to treat somebody very badly, and this person to have the heart to come to your aid when that time comes. It's when that is why they normally say you have to learn how to live with people, you know. But it's this has been happening in centuries, so I have a feeling like it's gonna take a long time and a very big miracle for this kind of mindset to change. You know, it's not changing anytime soon. It's something that is passed from generation to generation. In fact, if they can find a Caucasian to marry, the better, and their baby becomes worse. Exactly, their whitewashed baby becomes worse than the previous generation. So I don't see this problem ending. And as we normally say, if they want to change, the work has to begin from within,
meaning from the community itself. From them acknowledging that black Mexicans, black Argentinians, In short, Afro-Latinas exist, Afro-Latinos exist.
And at least nowadays, we normally see people complain, you know. So you normally see black representation in their
No,
programs.
it's not enough. It's not even 1% of representation.
I wasn't done with my thoughts. Yeah, I was going to say, much as you see the black representation, the representation is very little, and
As
it's
little as
stereotyped, you know.
0.0001%.
And when they do feature those black people, they bring
the
up
typical
all
stereotype.
oh my goodness,
Like
the
they
typical.
either bring that black person in telenovelas. That black person will either be a chef, a cook, or you know the stereotype, guys. You know the stereotype.
We recommended that movie on Netflix called The Surrogate.
Guys,
Look
please
at that
go and
native
watch
woman.
it.
Oh my god.
On Netflix,
Please,
the movie
guys.
is called The Surrogate.
Yeah, we've
or
never...
is it surrogacy?
The
Something
Surrogate.
along those lines.
It's a Latin series, and this one thing, just observe the character that is being played by that native woman and how she has been portrayed. I didn't like it personally. After you watch it, come back on
the comment section and we'll understand exactly what you mean.
What you're saying, you know. So anyway, in the Latin community, a lot has to be done, but unfortunately, I don't see that happening anytime soon. You know.
But as I always say, the fact that there's one or two people like her speaking up about these issues in the Latin community, it means these are the voices that will bring change forward, right?
Anyway, guys, let us know what you think about this episode on the comment section. We'd very much like to hear from you. Also, consider subscribing if it's your first time here, and let's catch you on our next episode.